What is up, people, and welcome back to the channel. So I plodded on a little bit because I haven't been well again, blah blah blah. So I'm going to take you up and show you what. Take you up? You don't need to take on me out. Anyway, I'm going to show you where we're at now. So this, let me zoom out a bit. This X has gone in, yeah. So this is all about triangulation, but it's got a slight elevation as well. See what I mean? Now we all know where the meaning space frame comes from. This technically isn't a space frame. This is a tube chassis. Space frames are used mainly in construction of buildings, and they are loads of triangles put together. That's basically it. It's a triangle attached to another triangle. It uses its own shape to carry its own load and the load of the object next to it. So a space frame is like, it's like our power pylons with all the power wires running across. They're all triangles. That's a space frame. That's where it actually comes from. Loads of triangles put together over a big area. So we sort of use that technology and that name in our chassis. That's why everything's full of triangles. If you get a circle in there, that'd be really good, but we haven't. So this here, if you imagine, this little triangle, or X, is doing more than one job, right? So let's imagine the forces of this engine coming forwards and backwards, right? So it's coming forwards and backwards, so it's trying to pull on these, yeah? So technically, this wasn't here and you pulled really hard, or more so under braking, this leg could go in, right? And that leg would go out. It would twist like this. So this one here is stopping that motion. And this one here is stopping that motion. But because we're also on an incline, it's helping to stop this swing up that way. Yeah? And then because it's attached to this tube, it's also strengthening this joint up here. Yeah? And it's aiding cross section as well. So it's not just this one that's doing the cross section. This is helping. So they all, if you can get an X in there or a bar going at a diagonal, it does help. So and that back one's finished now. Well, apart from it's got to be flipped over, done the other side. We put these top screen things in. I started to run around with the welder and did, zoom out again. Did a few welds here and there. Yeah, but that's just like a preliminary, whatever it is. The more I try and say it, the worse it's going to get. Right, preliminary, something like that anyway. So then I decided what we're going to do is we're going to try and do our rear subframe mounts. And this is what I've come up with so far. Right, so, hang on. This is what we have come up with. Now, that's the same section as the floor's made out of. So we're pretty strong. So what I did is I cut off the material that was here. And I've replaced it with an extension and a lip, yeah? Then all this has been fully welded all the way around underneath. So that's pretty strong. But as you can see that gap? There's a very minute gap there underneath, yeah? Now, this is cut to the same angle as this. Then the end is plated with 3mm plate, TIG welded all the way around, lineage back. And then here is the other side. So as you can see, the end is plated. So it's cut to angle to match the subframe. Then another 3mm taken off, plated, TIGged, lineage back, because we need it to fit as flush as we can get it. Yeah? So getting that angle there was pretty easy. you just put your box section against it to where you need it, and then you scribe up the inside. So that is a pretty simple task in itself. But then I came up with the rest of the kit. Let me zoom out again. I'm not very good at this one, am I? So that is the bar which comes off the chassis. This is the triangulation leg for that bar, which goes like this. Yeah? Then we have this little bung that I knocked up on the lathe. Now this bung goes in there, right? So we've got this end plate giving this more structure. Then this is going to get TIG welded all the way around there. And TIG welded around the base. Which is why I put there's a bit of a chamfer on this inner. So I can sink the weld in. Because ideally this needs to be lineaged off a bit for the floor skin underneath. So then this box section becomes pretty solid because we've got 4 sides, an end, and this welded through the box section itself. Yeah? But then I wasn't 100% with that, so I made this gusset out of 3mm, which sits there. Yeah? And this gusset's going to get welded all the way around, and then this section here is going to get filled with weld and then lineaged back. Because I don't know if you'll see it. It works out so it's flush, you get me? So it fits underneath that bit sticking out. And then where I've got the bolt sticking up, I've made some better ones. Yeah? And then this is going to get welded to the top of there once it's all said and done. So we're not relying on just a bolt head and a washer around here. We are relying on that much surface area pinching this steel against this much surface area. So then it equals out to an awful lot bigger bolt in a way, because we are squashing this much material. So you end up with the friction helping you to hold. So this then, what we need to do is we need to weld all this together. So what I'm going to do first of all is TIG this in all the way around. Might be a bit of shit under there, ain't going all the way down. So that's going to get TIGged around. That's going to get TIGged around. Then I can lineage this back flush to get the weld out of the way so it sits flat on the table. At the minute, yeah, slightly proud. I could have took a few more thou off there, but don't shoot me. Then I'm going to put this in place so I can throw some tacks on this leg. So we can tack this leg up. Then we've got to take it back out, weld the bottom, because the bottom of this weld's got to be lineaged down. That's why we've got a nice weld prep on there. So we can get good amount of weld in the groove, you see what I mean? So all this will get fully weld, lineaged back. Then we've got to do the same on the top, because this gusset's got to go on there, hasn't it? Yeah? So at the minute, it's just all going to be about prepping and welding, and then that's going to get welded. I couldn't bring this right to the edge because under there, oh, you can't really see it, there's a welding this to this, and I didn't want to lineage that down. So that's going to get welded, stepped back to allow for the weld clearance. Yeah, you get me? Well, that's what I've come up with so far. Once those are together in and welded to the chassis, then I'm going to work out what we're going to do from here. Oof. It's good now I found that new button on my phone. It zooms out quick. There's going to be one coming from here to here. Now, normally, it's a little bit further away. So this bar is going to be quite an an acute angle. So I need to work out the best acute angle for it. Just like if you look at this one, the load is being pushed into about here. So it's not in line with that box. Yeah, and it's not in line with this box. It's sort of passing through the center where the center of the steel is, yeah? So you're pushing it into the joint, not solely on the one. So what I'll probably do with this one is the same. It'll probably come from about here. So it's pointing at this, this, and this. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is weld all this up, and you'll we'll have then a finished item, and you'll see. See you in a bit. Right. So that's that bit done. So we've got two of them now. And they are tigged around. I think that was 95 amps. Because I wanted to use enough power so you can just see where it's starting to melt it away without really like deformation, is it what they call it? And that's penetrated in quite nice. Basically, there's not a lot to come off there. And that one, quite close. Because I put that chamfer on there, it basically just melted what was in there, fused it together, and then I put a bit of rod in just to make up the gap. So we know we've got a nice weld around there. You can see the heat penetration around it. So that ain't gonna fall out. So now we've got the next part of the mission. So we're gonna put these all in place, tack these to these, take them out, fully weld them, lean them back, put the gussets on. Or I might put it in, tack the gusset in place just to get that position correct. Right, we'll see anyway. Anyway, big time. Just a little quick, while I'm thinking about it, when you're welding stuff like this, it's a bit hot now, that is. But you see the weld, right? See how it looks pretty much half and half on the two materials? It's technically not. That's not how it works on this. It's where's my little thingy gone? Is it earlier? This. So you got this material, this material. This is my welding wire, the tip. Yeah? I am not pointing it there. Right? A lot of people make the mistake where they get the welder and they run it and they go right in the middle of the joint. That's not what you want, because this is 3mm, this is 3mm. This is hollow here, so all you've got is 3mm. This, you've got a solid sidewall here sapping up the heat. Yeah? So this is a continuous 3mm, where this is not. So this here, what I am doing is the end of this is my welding wire, and back I am aiming at this. So even though that's like that, I am aiming at this, right? And as I'm bringing it along, I'm washing it, I'm watching it wash out. So I'm watching what the pool is doing, and I can see that the pool is eating into this and eating into this. If I was here, you'd be eating more into this because it's hollow, there's nothing inside it. So you'd have not the best, you'd get penetration, but not the best on this. So you want to focus your heat on here. So I'm running my welding wire like about here. Majority on here. So this is getting loads of power. And then technically, this is getting power as well, but it's the molten metal which is doing all the welding, all the melting. You can see the edge where it's melting away. So yeah, remember, always aim on the thicker stuff. And say if this was 1.5mm and this was 5mm, I'd preheat this with the blowtorch. Get a bit of heat in this. And then what you'd have to do is you'd probably have to be here. And you'd be welding, pull back, weld, pull back. And it's the pull back which you'll drag in the weld onto the 1.5, which won't take a lot to heat. So you weld, pull back, weld, pull back. So it's sort of like, just, a lot of people do it in like W shapes. Yeah, but I normally come across, pull back, across, pull back. But when you're 3mm, 3mm, just aim it there, nice, slow, steady pace, see what the pool is doing. If you don't think it's eating enough into here, bring it back a little bit. If you think this is melting away too quick, push it away a little bit. Yeah? And then you end up with a nice little weld. This is quite dirty, I must admit. My dad hates when I get this shit everywhere. But it's a necessary of two evils. You know what I mean? If I didn't have this, technically I could probably turn my wire feed down a little bit. That's really what this is. You've got the molten metal and your wire's going, it's going splash, splash. So I could probably turn the wire feed down a touch, but I want good welds. And because it's like a fillet, yeah, I need to make sure it's full. Anyway, that's just my little things. And now what I'm going to do, now that's cooling down, see I tacked the bottom side, didn't I? Which was the top side there. Yeah, so I tacked that side. So this opened up this gap because this warped. So I went tack, tack, and this lifted slightly, like that. That's exaggeration, but it lifted. So I flipped it over, clamped it down to bring it back together, fully welded it, and then I'll flip it over, do it again. Right, let's carry on, shall we? So, these are welded. Some nice welds on there. Yeah, that woo! My hand slipped. So we know now, fucking hell, we've got nice little welds on them, yeah? All the way around. So what we've got to do now is we need to linish the bottoms off. Yeah? Because this has got to go flat to my chassis table. Alright? So we're going to get this linished off, then we're going to flip it over, and we've got to do these, haven't we? Yeah. Right, so we are smoothed off. That's the warm. But as you can see, we've got no remnants of the weld. So it's one continuous smooth. Yeah, it's warm. Yeah. So if you hadn't put enough weld in, you maybe have a low point, or what can essentially be like, you know, these marks here, fucking jizz warm. Yeah. If you had a long one here, which was a sign of the edge of the weld where it drops into the steel, that could potentially be a fracture point. So you need to make sure you've gone past them, and then just round out your corners. If you leave a potential, if it looks like a crack, even though it's not, it can be one. It can turn into one. Right then. So we've done that side. Now we've got these two things to put on, haven't we? Yeah? So what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to put them in place, scribe, and I'm only going to grind the weld back to where I need it gone to. I'm not going to grind it all off because there's no point. So we're going to just centralise these on the O thing. Scribe there. Grind all this back nice and smooth. Leave this weld alone. And then we're going to infill that. Clean it back. Easy job.